Conflict is when two or more people have differences in ideas or views and are not ready to understand or accept each other's views. Conflict might escalate and lead to non-productive results, or conflicts can be beneficially resolved and lead to quality final product. Therefore, learning to manage conflict is integral to a high-performance team. Conflict management is the principle that all conflicts cannot necessarily be resolved. But learning how to manage conflicts can decrease the odds of non-productive escalations. Conflict management involves acquiring skills related to conflict resolution, self-awareness, conflict communication skills, and establishing a structure of management of conflict in your environment. So there are many causes of conflicts actually. Methodical differences could be one, standard performance, lack of cooperation, differences regarding authority, differences regarding responsibility, competition over resources, non-compliance with rules, ideology differences, opinion differences, behavior differences, fear, dishonesty, boundaries, negligence, many such causes could be there. Like it could be a miscommunication, mishandling conflict in the past, needs to be right kind of I feel like when I say something that's what's supposed to be there. Hidden agenda could be there, maybe personal conflict, value differences, lot of causes that could be there for conflict. But there are also a lot of symptoms of conflicts. Let me tell you, some of the symptoms of the existing of conflicts in an organization could be tensions. Now when you see there are tensions around in the atmosphere, there is a symptom that conflicts around. No desire to communicate, work not done properly, disastrous meetings, anger occurs quickly and easily, failing productivity, slipping morale, bad tempers are very evident. Absenteeism, accidents, escalating costs, disagreement. Have you observed any of these symptoms in the organization that you are working currently? When you see these symptoms are prevailing, it means there are conflicts around and we need to understand what are there and how do we manage them. Before getting into managing those, let's first understand what are the types of conflicts we have. There are various kinds of conflicts. You can call them, basically you can categorize them in two major things. One is called as a personal conflicts and the other one can be a situational conflicts. Personal conflicts typically will be differences in style because of differences in background and gender and differences in personality. But situational conflicts can be because of interdependence conflicts and differences in leadership. Let's understand each of these in detail. So when I say in personal conflicts, differences in style, these conflicts occur because people's style for completing a job can differ. Each one has a different way of doing things. If I'm looking at somebody, I want them to do it in my way. That might not be the way which they do. There exactly where the difference comes. One person may just want to get the work done quickly. He's a task oriented. While the other person is more concerned about having it done in a particular way, more of an artistic way of doing it. Differences in backgrounds or genders. Conflict can arise between people because of differences in educational background, personal experience, ethnic heritage, gender, political preferences and stuff like that. Differences of personality. This type of conflict is often fueled by emotion and perceptions about somebody else's motives and characters. For example, a team leader shouts at someone for being late because he perceives the team member is being lazy and inconsiderate. The team member sees the team leader as being irrational. Difference in personalities and that arises conflict. But when we talk about situational conflicts, as I was mentioning, there are two types. One is interdependence conflicts and differences in leadership. Let's understand each in detail. Interdependence conflicts. Such conflicts occur when person's job depends on someone else's cooperation, output or input. A salesperson who is constantly late in submitting the monthly sales figure may cause the accountant to be late in submitting their reports. Conflict arises. Most of our work, right, almost everything what we do are interdependent. What work I do and my output is an input for someone else. The way I give it, helps the other one to take it from there. If I delay my work, the other person gets delayed in submitting their work, and then the conflict comes. So wherever there is an interdependency, conflicts might arise because of these differences. The second one is differences in leadership. Leaders basically have different style. Conflicts may occur when employees who move from under one supervisor to another, they just become confused. I'm sure many of you would have faced in your working life, in working period, where you have different bosses you report, and then you understand the difference. For example, one leader may be very open and delegates responsibility, while another may be more directive. For an employee, it becomes conflict situation when he has to change his leader. We get into a habit of doing things in a particular way. If I wanted things to be done in a particular one, when the management or when the leadership changes, they ask me to do it in a different way, and then conflict arises. So there are different steps to resolve personal conflicts. Let's understand first how to resolve personal conflicts. Step 1, manage yourself. If you or the other person are getting angry, then manage yourself to stay calm by speaking to the person as if the other person is not angry. Avoid the use of word you. This avoids blaming. The moment you say you, it starts blaming. So avoid using that word. Nod your head to assure the other person that you heard him. Maintain eye contact with him. Step 2, move the discussion to a private area if possible. Right? When you have a conflict, don't try to solve it, right? Don't try to get into it in public places where people have a different feeling, egos come in place. So always when there is a conflict, you got to have a discussion, move the discussion to a private area. That's always advisable. Step 3, give the other person some time to vent his emotions. Don't interrupt them or judge what they are saying. Step 4, check with the other person and verify that you are hearing each other accurately. When the other person stops speaking, then ask the other person to let you rephrase what you heard from the other person and what you understood about his point of view. Ask open-ended questions to understand him. Avoid why questions when you ask these open-ended questions, because these why questions often make people feel defensive. Step 5, repeat step 4. This time, ask the other person to verify what they heard when you are talking, right? When you present your position. Use I, not you. Talk in terms of present as much as possible, right? Mention your feelings. That's step 5. Step 6, acknowledge where you disagree and where you agree. Work on the issues, not on the person, right? People are not wrong, actually. You have conflicts not with people, you have conflict with a particular work or a particular situation which you are in. When they are convinced that you understand them, ask, what can we do to fix the problem, right? When you have this thought, this attitude of how do I fix a problem, you get into the solution. Step 7, identify at least one action that can be done by one or both of you if possible. Ask the other person if they will support the action. Thank the person for working with you. And step 8, if the situation remains still a conflict, conclude it if other person's behavior conflicts with policies and procedures in workplace, and if so, inform about the issues to your supervisor. Consider seeking a third party to mediate if you're not able to solve it. Don't leave it open because it's going to come back again. Remember situational conflicts that are based on the situations you are in. Say situational conflicts typically be interdependence conflicts or differences in leadership. So when I say in personal conflicts, differences in style, these conflicts occur because people's style for completing a job can differ. Each one has a different way of doing things, If I'm looking at somebody, I want them to do it in my way. That might not be the way which they do. There exactly where the difference comes. One person may just want to get the work done quickly. He's a task oriented. While the other person is more concerned about having it done in a particular way, more of an artistic way of doing it. Differences in backgrounds or genders. Conflict can arise between people because of differences in educational background, personal experience, ethnic heritage, gender, political preferences and stuff like that. Differences of personality. This type of conflict is often fueled by emotion and perceptions about somebody else's motives and characters. For example, A team leader shouts at someone for being late because he perceives the team member is being lazy and inconsiderate. The team member sees the team leader as being irrational. Difference in personalities, and that raises conflict. Let's understand the steps to resolve situational conflicts. Step 1. Set the scene. Understand the situation rationally. Right? When you understand the situational, why is this happening and what is the reason, what could be done, well, you could reach towards solving it. Gather enough information, that is step 2. Understand each other's needs and concerns. Right? If you know what is it that I need and what is it my concern, at the same time you also need what is the other party's needs and concerns, you would be in a better position to resolve. So gather information. Step 3, agree to a problem, right? Define a mutual problem. There is a conflict because there is a problem, right? If you agree to the problem, then we start looking at solving it. If we do not agree to it, then it's just there and nothing can be done for that. Step 4, brainstorm possible solutions, right? Don't push a solution on somebody. This is what the problem and this is exactly what you're supposed to do. It doesn't work that way, right? You need to brainstorm, you need to discuss with that person. Think of all possible solutions. It's very important to figure out the solution together, right? And then step 5, negotiate a solution. Say for example, come to a solution that is agreed upon both the groups, right? It needs a bit of negotiation, right? You have thought of a solution during your brainstorming, but you need to negotiate which is what needs to be done and what can be, taken ahead. The last bit of the presentation is strategies for conflict management, right? There are different strategies, right? Typically, I put it here like, there are 5 different strategies for conflict management. First one is mediation. Second one is arbitration. Third one is control. Fourth one is acceptance. And fifth one is elimination. Let's look at each in detail. When I say the first strategy for conflict management is mediation, the goal is to identify multiple possible alternatives and to mutually select one that is acceptable to all involved parties and in the interest of project objectives. Arbitration. This strategy requires the project manager to provide a safe and a productive opportunity for the conflicted parties to air their disagreement. After careful attention and fully listening to each party, the project manager should formulate, define, and provide a solution to parties. Arbitration can often be effectively combined with mediation by forcing an initial conflict solution and then allowing the parties to negotiate to a more mutually acceptable alternative. The third strategy I was suggesting is control. This strategy seeks to bring tension and emotions down to a level at which productive discussions and negotiations can occur. Humor is often an effective tool, as well as the use of temporary breaks or timeouts in the discussion between the conflicted parties. It's important that we discuss and we try to solve it in one stretch. Things doesn't really work out. You need to have a break. You need to figure out how we are different from the conflict, right? People are different and the issue is different. If the moment you understand this, you would have better control. The fourth strategy is acceptance. An acceptance decision can be made that the conflict consequences are negligible relative to the project objectives and therefore requires no actions. This strategy carries significant risk of later escalations and should be combined with specific plan for monitoring the situations to ensure that the conflict remains at an acceptable level, because it's not solved, we're accepting it, it could come back when again things go a little wrong. So you need to be careful about monitoring it. The fifth strategy is elimination. The elimination strategy is reserved for those conflicts that have become so dysfunctional, right, that the project can no longer tolerate any impact from there. This happens. Sometimes we can just not do anything. Often a last resort, right? Elimination involves the removal of the conflicted parties from the involvement with the project. Now this is like the end of thing that we can do in a conflict. We try to resolve it in all possible ways, all possible strategies we apply, but when nothing works and when you know this is hampering the work, hampering the job in hand, we need to go for this something called as an elimination. Maybe this is a place where you just need to remove all the conflicted parties and try to restore peace and manage conflicts.